Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have a very special video for you today. We have the privilege and honor of interviewing Mr. Vlad, the lead developer of Shinobi Story. Kind of happened off the cuff. I just messaged him. I was like, hey man, I'm thinking about making a video on your new faction system for the beta. You think you could answer a couple questions for me? And he goes, sure I could, but you could also just like straight interview me if you wanted to. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I whipped up about 10 questions with the help of some members of the community and some of my friends as well. So hopefully this will have some new information for everybody and spark some more interest in the beta. It certainly sparked a lot of interest in me. So anyway, without further ado, we will get straight into the questions. The first question I had for Vlad was, how long would you like it for the average player to reach Jonin? And Vlad's answer here was very interesting. This is what he says. He says, I am not sure yet. The way folks are going to get from Genin to Sanin will be like a huge progression bar. From E rank to Genin to D rank to C rank to Chunin to B rank to Jonin to A rank to S rank to SS rank to Sanin. And he says, and the rank S through Sanin being the soft caps. Most players would be able to reach A rank after maybe a few weeks of daily play, but it could be faster depending on how long they play. It will only be like 10 to 20% grinding, but only should be a last resort when everything else is exhausted. And I found this response super interesting. If anyone else reads all my shit posts in that Discord server that he has, I love the idea of a soft cap, and I have been campaigning for it for a long time. So this was very good news to me, and I think it strikes a very good balance in between, the need for the ability to get up to the level that you can actually play the game to be accessible to the majority of people, because not everyone has 20 hours a day to be grinding birds. But at the same time, those people that do want to grind 20 hours per day and try to be a special, member in the world, they should still have that opportunity, but it also at the same time, it shouldn't put them on like a god level over an average player. It should just put them at like a pretty good advantage without, making it completely one-sided. So I really like this news. I'm super excited to see how the S rank, SS rank, and Sanin grind will be, especially considering that now it's not just grinding. You're going to have, with the new progression system, you're going to have what sounds like missions. You're going to have what sounds like invasions of enemy lands where you get led by your Kage to go, do attacks and invasions and things like that. You're going to have places in the world to explore and different treasures and things to find. So all of that sounds extremely exciting to me personally. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how it goes. The second question I had for him is a little wordier. It says, current factions could be compared to the Frenzyheart versus the Oracles of Sholazar Basin. That's a thing in WoW, where your faction is more cosmetic while interacting with players, and only small portions of the map have some unavailable or hostile NPCs. Going forward, will you be strongly associated with your faction beta, more akin to the Alliance versus the Horde? And Vlad responded, he said, for gameplay reasons, we will mostly stay Sholazar Basin in this example. Since we are only a few devs, rival faction players will be able to do missions in enemy lands, but with neutral towns like Yokohama, Tenzaku, Kaiho Point, etc. This is so a seasoned ninja progresses with adventure and interacting with the world. We've seen this in the show too, so it isn't too far-fetched. I'm not too into limiting players too narrowly. And while I have to say, originally I was extremely excited for a more Alliance versus Horde like system where you're kind of in a more rigid environment, so you don't have these, interactions where people feel like they get betrayed by people or they have to watch their back all the time, because the truth is the average player just can't deal with that, and it causes people to burn out quickly, which has been a problem. But the way he's describing this interests me greatly, because what it sounds like is, while the system will be similar to what we have right now, it will be more to the point where, if you see a sand ninja in Leaf, they might be up to something, and if you're meeting somebody and you can easily tell that they're from another village, well, then you can kind of have the idea that maybe you should watch your back around this person. And in regards to, players from your own villages, you're going to be much more encouraged to help the people in your own village, rank up, get powerful, and not mess with them, because you need them for these, village versus village battles. So I'm very excited about that. Question number 3 was very simple. It said, how many mastery points will players get to spend on the new trees? And an extension to the question is to account for the many new passives and generals worked into the trees. The reason I ask this question is because when you look at the talents that are on the beta page, you can see that a lot of them have either a circle or a square around them, and using the power of deduction, me and my friend Nakashima, my intelligence officer, has figured out that most likely every icon with a circle around it is going to be a passive, while every icon with a square around it is going to be an active ability. And by looking at this, we can see that quite a few of the abilities are going to be passives in the new trees. So with that in mind, I think it would be a great idea to have 40 points instead of 30 points, because that just means that players get more abilities that they can actually press and use that aren't just passive bonuses. Because, the thing is, people say button bloat, people say all these things, but the more abilities you have, the more opportunity you have for outplay, the more different scenarios that can happen, just different combinations in general. So it's, I think, a very good idea to have 30 points. What he said is not sure yet, either 30 or 40. So hopefully he starts leaning towards 40. Question number 4 was, in beta, does a player have to enter enemy territory to complete their power progression? And I guess we kind of had this question answered earlier, but Vlad says yes, exploring the vast world should be required, which makes sense. So you're going around from village to village doing different things, maybe you get progression from doing the invasions as well, which would be great. So the whole world will be opened up to you. You won't just be, stuck in your own land doing your own dailies there. Question number 5, and this is a bit of a mouthful. In regards to the two groups, and the first group being players who want the immersive Naruto world, where some players are clearly stronger than others based on time investment, and the second group being players who want access to a level playing field where skill trumps time investment, which direction will the beta lean towards, or will there be a balance between the two sides? What Vlad says in response to this is where the S rank through Sanin comes in with the soft cap system, which is very steep, but most players will be around Jonin rank. And this is just excellent to me because, like I said in the last question, it strikes a perfect balance between the ability for a player to get to the point where they can feel like they're really playing in the end game, but also provide that chance for people who love to grind to have, like almost an unlimited grind, which is how soft caps work. If you ever played like Black Desert or something like that, you get to a point where you are strong, and if you want to keep going, you can, but it's going to take a lot of time, and it's also going to just take, a lot of time to progress to a point where you are, even a little bit stronger than somebody else, which is good because that gives those people that enjoy that grinding something to do. It's something that's rewarding to them, but at the same time, it doesn't make that kind of grind required because the difference is only, 10% or 15% gain in your advantage over other players. Question number 6 was this: Shinobi Story is very unique in regards to the importance of the open world. Will this continue in the beta, or will instance content come more into focus? And Vlad's reply to this was, we will still have tons of open world stuff. We're going to experiment with several dungeons for our crafting system to come, plus allow for players to have a test of skill without interruption. So when you go right now in Shinobi Story and you fight a world boss, basically you can just throw the whole server at it because it's in one instance. It's in the world instance. So having these things in instances will, one, allow them to be more tuned and fair fights. They can account for, knowing that there's going to be a certain number of players engaging it. And 2, it can just, allow for people to go and fight in these instances and explore them and test themselves without having to worry about, the thing being dead because it's already been on a cooldown, without having to worry about not having enough people to do it, without having to worry about people coming to grief and get in the way of it. So that's a very good answer, and I'm very excited to see how they blend the open world with the instances, and especially I'm excited to see this crafting system because the idea of more gear being craftable, more ninja tools being craftable, just things to make your character unique is very exciting. Number 7, what 3 things about the game are you most proud of? And this is what Vlad said. He said, I am most proud of the things I directly touched, the interface, the jutsus, the maps. But the thing I am most proud of is not giving up in the many, many times when I thought it was over, when we had one player online, when I saw some of our competition, when my devs stopped caring. But I persisted because I believed in this project and what we can build. And when I read this answer for the first time, the first thing I thought was, respect, because that's true. A lot of people shit on Vlad a lot, and the reason they do is because he's like a one-man army. I know he's got people that help him, but Vlad decides the route that the game takes, and because you have access to this person, you can easily, get mad at him, threaten to stop donating, threaten to stop helping, threaten to be mean, all these things to peer pressure him to try to push him the way the game wants to do. And that's a lot of mental pressure for somebody to have, especially when they're just trying to make, something that's really a passion project. It does pay Vlad's bills, but it is really a passion project. And, I have a lot of respect for that. I myself on this channel have definitely done my fair share of shitting on Vlad. I called him a sellout in one video. I called him autistic. I called him Elon Musk autistic, to be fair, but I did call him autistic. So, I've shit on Vlad. I've shit on the game. I've thrown my own little temper tantrums here and there. But, the moral of the story is people keep coming back to the game, even when after it dipped down to one player and all these things, because it's a unique game. And I still think, even like I did when I first joined this game, I think this game is going to be revolutionary for the game industry as a whole when people see how fun this kind of sandbox take on the MMO genre with a little bit of a spin can be, and just having that interaction of RP, PvP with an open world and a progression system and all these great things, and especially the great combat system, I think this game is really special. So, shout out to Vlad. Keep up the good work, man. People give you a hard time, but at the end of the day, we love your game. It's awesome. And, keep that in mind. Number 8, I said, what do you think is most important for new player retention? And Vlad said, I think the feeling being a part of something as early as possible is probably the most important thing. I don't have all the answers yet, but I know what isn't working so far. Vlad is definitely correct here, because from my own personal experience, I got to about level 9 or 10, and I was Genjutsu, and I just started to get burned out on the game because I'd never really played a game where you need to grind before, and I'm just having to kill one robber at a time, having a bad time. And all of a sudden this guy, Alfiel, invites me to a group, and he's got 2 fire users with him, and he's like, hey, come burn some robbers with us. So I hop in, and we start roasting robbers, and I start progressing at a good pace, and it just felt great to have those, new friends of mine that I was working with. And then after that, I get into a group with a huge bunch of people. We all start farming the scorpions, and I'm still friends with quite a few of those people even to this day. And after that, I even get into my guild, the Hidden Leaf Village. I get a Jonin assigned to be my team captain. I have a team. The other member of my team goes on to be the leader of the Anbu. A person I go on to apprentice ends up becoming the Hokage. Just such a cool system, and you would never have that experience in any other game. And it's part of the community's responsibility to nurture that kind of system, and I think Vlad understands that. So the thing that makes the game so special are those immersive interactions that you have with other people, and that all really kind of falls into place when the game is in a good place. So I'm thinking right now the game is in a good place, and it's going to a way better place in beta. So I'm just super excited to see how the good parts of the game influence the players to be even better and create even more special interactions like that. Number 9, with the expected explosion in population following the beta, how many concurrent players do you think the 3 lands can maintain? Will there be resource scarcity? Vlad says, very simply, I'm not fully sure yet. I hope to get more data in the closed beta. And I definitely understand where he's coming from there. I've seen this game when it had pretty much its peak online players. I think there was around 100 people online or so at one point. And, it was crazy. Every place you went, there was people. There was, Genin littered throughout the forest. There was tons of Chunin over the scorpions. People got legendary based off, the places they farmed. There was a group of people led by a guy named Titus that farmed up these certain mobs that nobody really had farmed before, and they got to 60 so fast that they were still Genin. And, that became like a legendary thing because everywhere else was camped and they had that spot locked down, and there was, resource scarcity, and you really had to compete for things. So, it can be a good thing and a bad thing. And I guess we'll just have to see how it works in beta. But because the system of progression is going to be so different and it's not going to be 100% grinding, that may lead to some interesting interactions. So we'll see how that goes. Question number 10, and this is the most boring question, so sorry I saved it for last. Probably should have done the first question last. But he says, or I say rather, will beta progression be released in phases? And what I mean by this is more of this is less of like a Naruto question and more of like a WoW private server question. Because if you guys haven't played WoW private servers before, they are infected by the need for fresh servers. people love what they call a fresh. They got to get the fresh. So when a game comes out, and even if it's only been out a week, if people didn't start that first day of the fresh, they feel like they've missed out. They feel like, well, I'm just going to wait for the next fresh to come around. So because Shinobi Story is very unique, maybe it doesn't have that same problem, but my question was more phrased in the way of, when the beta comes out, will you immediately be able to go and start grinding for, S-rank Jonin level 60? Or will you maybe be stuck at level 40 for a while, or maybe be stuck at Jonin for a while or something, just to kind of pace the way that the game is released, to keep people from feeling like, they're not a league ahead. Like when I joined, there was a ton of space between me and the veteran players, which I didn't really mind, but some people really do. So Vlad's answer to that question was, he kind of misunderstood the question, I feel like, but I'm going to say what his answer was anyway. He says, beta progression will be in phases just due to the massive load, plus also the need to keep things fresh and run updates. And I'm not sure if by this he is referring to what I'm talking about when I say that, players would be limited in their progression, or if he's talking about the actual content releases being done in phases. I probably should have asked him for clarification, but I've already done this video 2 times, so I'm just going to go ahead and release it like this. So sorry guys, but I'm pretty sure that's a decent answer. You can draw your own conclusion, and yeah. So finally, the very last extra bonus question was something that I felt like I knew the answer to, but I figured I'd just ask because a couple of people asked me to ask him anyway. And my question was, so when you look at the beta masteries, at the very top, for example, you have Uchiha. You unlock Uchiha, but then you have 3 branches of the Uchiha tree. So people's question was, do you need to spend 3 mastery tokens to go down each branch of the tree? And Vlad says, no, 1 tree will cost 1 mastery token. So if you want to go full Uchiha, you only need 1 mastery token to do that. Obviously, you're going to need all the points to flush it out, but then you could spend your other 2 points on, some passives, like you could go Genjutsu for the passive, or you could go medical for the passive, the passive you get from selecting the mastery. So I hope that answers those people's questions. Anyway, as you can tell from me saying I'm very excited like 300 times, I'm very excited about this, and I was extremely happy to get all these questions answered. It hyped me up for the beta even more, which I didn't think was possible. So what do you guys think? Go in the comments, let me know. Are you going to be rain? Are you going to be sand? Are you going to stay leaf? Are you a new player who's coming in just for the beta? What do you think about the progression system? Are you excited for, the new types of progression, as far as not just the grinding, but the new missions? Yeah, just let me know what you think. If you want to be invited to the closed beta, it sounds like the best way to do that is just go play the alpha and be a nice person, pretty much, because a lot of us are dicks, myself included. So, if you want to go into the alpha and report bugs and, give nice feedback and, don't ask Vlad every 4 seconds to nerf or buff something, he probably will invite you to the closed beta. So just go in, get some playing in, just be a cool person, which I know you guys are, and you'll probably get invited to the closed beta, and, let me know how it goes, because like I said, I'm kind of a dick myself. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.